Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Coin Republic podcast. My name is Saurav Bhattacharjee. I have resumed the podcast for the first time ever in 2024, post our Dubai event that happened on 17th January at one of the flagship event spots in Dubai. And then I got to meet a phenomenal person during that event, and I wanted to have him on the show to extensively talk about the trends in Web3 marketing from a studio and an agency perspective. All the trends we're going to lay it out for y'all to consider to be a part of your Web3 adventure. It is my honor to introduce you guys to the screen, the founder and CEO of Cryptorsy, Mr. Vlad Svitanko. I, I guess I butchered your last name over there.
Yeah, man.
Welcome to the.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Nice to meet you.
It's an honor to have you here. We met in Dubai for the first time. You live in Dubai, so let me lead with that question. Why are you in Dubai? What makes it special?
Oh man, that is a truly exceptional city because you have really different groundbreaking experiences living in Dubai, right? So it lifts you up significantly, each particular area in your life, lifestyle, business, hobbies, all that stuff sort of, taking off. And month number 2, I started to feel, baby, I'm at home. I don't want to, get out of
Mhm.
this place. That's really fine.
Now, you've launched and exited multiple companies before Cryptorsy. Can you tell us about your early entrepreneurial journey and what key lessons you learned from those experiences?
Yeah, man, that's a wild hustle, to be honest with you. I've started 11 companies. 8 of them have significantly failed. From 2 of
Mhm.
them, I've made exits. That was the first company, was the IT company where we have aggregated all of the cars from the
Mhm.
insurance parks as well that can be shipped around the globe to the countries of the people. So that was the first. And the next company was the constructional company in the micro repairing segment as well. And then one is still going, it's a Cryptorsy. And a lot of stuff actually I've understood from being the full-time entrepreneur 24/7, 365. It's the key lessons I've tattooed on my skin. The first is that consistency is the key actually, and when you build something truly community centric, it's easier for you to go out there and try, because when you rely completely on the advertisements, right? Man, that's a bad,
Mhm.
bad sign for you, because customer acquisition costs day per day are rapidly growing, right? And you need to ensure
Exactly.
that your product is enough and you are heard from the right audience and you deliver the key message for them. And having in mind the
Mhm.
idea that you've built a community around you helped you significantly to go out there and just actually outperform everybody from the space. And actually, one more thesis I've understood from being this kind of wild entrepreneur and doing all that stuff in the business is dedication is the key. When you dedicated
Mhm.
enough, when you actually lost your mind in what you do, man, you really ensuring that your chances to win are rapidly growing. That's the
Mhm.
that's the takeaways from that.
And is that one of the reasons why you started Cryptorsy? And I guess you guys, identify it now as a Web3 marketing studio. How is it different from a Web3 marketing agency? What's the difference? It's just a linguistic twist.
Okay, good question. So, agency business is kind of when you buy into social media management, those guys are kind of renting you one social media manager that are trying to manage your communities and giving you away 20 hours per week, let's say. No dedication, no completely going in depth research, business development, and the different parts that can lift up your business. Because you've just bought the social media management and the agency. I mean, being in the shoes of agency, you actually don't care as much as you can care about being in the studio, because in the studio we are developing our projects internally. We also do help some business development. We also help with the fundraising stuff and that type of questions. And the core idea here is to perceive each project as our own, because when you agency, you have a lot of projects going on through your pipes. But when you studio, you kind of narrowing down at those winning horses and trying to invest all you have, man, resources, time, money, everything you have, because those gems are going to be the next big tech companies of tomorrow. That's the key, I would say, differences between agencies and studio.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to quote one of your posts that I saw on LinkedIn. And I quote, measuring NFT marketing ROI is notoriously challenging. Based on your extensive experience and 1,000 plus calls with founders, you have shared a lot of data-driven approach to evaluating the success of NFT campaigns. My question is, how do you go beyond primary and secondary market metrics to assess factors like community engagement, conversion rates, and key marketing KPIs, and funnel optimization? And what was the 1,000 plus called about? Can you shed some light on that? I thought of that to be fairly interesting.
It's a great question. So what I've extrapolated from those 1,000 calls I've made with the founders, with the executives from the Web3 projects, is that those guys are actually building the next big phase of the internet. And a huge shout out for everybody who are involved in this sort of building process, when they are rapidly changing the lifestyle that humans can, in terms of interacting with each other. So, and it's actually great. So shout out to them, first of all. And the second part of that is, a lot of those guys cannot really understand how Web3 marketing works. Because Web2 marketing, everything is super, straightforward. You understand digital advertising, you understand the funnel, you understand the content, everything is clear. But when it comes to the Web3 marketing, what the hell is Web3 marketing? How to identify? I mean, what is the difference between that, right? And a lot of guys, they're pretty, I would say, focused at building the product, but they forget about the marketing, to create demand beforehand, to think about the customer experience, think about all those necessary stuff that can be perceived from the casual, from 9 to 5 people from the Web2 world as a great extension of their life, because we are building eventually for the planets, for the humans, right, that are living on Earth. Not for just the degens or for the folks who are flipping on the OpenSea, some NFTs and that stuff. So we get to think that you have to integrate Web3 technology on your backend as seamlessly as you can to lift up what? To lift up the customer experience as well. And about the NFTs, first thesis comes to my mind. You need to understand that your perceived value as high as possible. The next question of that, of how you can grow this perceived value, because when you're trying to doing some advertising for the people to kind of buy our NFT, we are going to have a limited launch. We are pretty much, greatly, our team is the best, all that stuff. It's just the phrases that you are putting out there. But when you think about the core idea, and I mean, Web3 native people, they are not inherently against advertising. You need to understand that when you are trying to catch somebody, right now they are feeling as a victim because you are chasing them. But you gotta flip the funnel to ensure that people come into you because you have something valuable to offer. And when you nail this key value components and you are putting the value out there, those people are starting to come to you all of a sudden, because guess what? Right now they are in the position when they have more incentive to come to you, right? To grab eventually those NFTs, digital assets, whatever guys you are doing. And we went through dozens of launches with the NFT projects. The recent one with the Launcher is the RWA project, where we have integrated NFTs in their incentive campaign to make sure our marketing launch is pretty much built upon the gamification. Is super entertaining for the people, because the NFTs, they really can shape the experience. Because think about the let's say incentive campaign, when you collecting just the points in the Starbucks, you're buying up the coffee and then what? You just have a points. But let's imagine I flew all the way to Singapore, by the one piece, by let's say 1 cup of coffee, and left back to Dubai. But if I have an NFT, right, I can trade this experience for those guys who live actually in the Singapore, and give it to them to their own chain interaction transactions. because I don't care about, being some sort of casual guest at the Singapore's different, right, Starbucks, coffee shops, and so on and so forth. Of course, that is the rough example, because you also can have the Starbucks in Dubai, all that stuff. You can exchange it for the value. But I'm just trying to tell here the main value of the NFTs, that they can ship you the real experience that can be minted on chain without, sort of caring about that will be rejected, that will be faked, and all this type of stuff. And when we have implemented in RWA, such as a really serious topic, when you have a securities, those guys have to go through the KYC, you have to get a credentiality to invest in these RWA kind of projects and their underlying products. It's really boring, because people want to have a Lambo overnight. What are you talking about? The QIC, the credentiality, they want to have a fast money. That's why crypto is famous, right? And we have integrated the NFTs there. We've got more than, I think, 10,000 participants and the minters and the NFT holders. And we saw incredibly high peak of attention coming to us, just because we have differentiated from those RWA boring brands that were, pretty much in these ads campaigns, in these tags, long reads, that stuff. People want to get entertained, isn't it?
I do want to extend on measurement models. Now, traditional attribution models don't always work well in the multi-touch point, permissionless nature of Web3. What do you think? What innovative attribution models are you personally exploring for, accurate campaign performance measurements?
It's a
KPIs, yeah.
great question. Thank you so much for that. I mean, you have well prepared for the interview. Appreciate it. Regarding this question, let's just assume that the Web3 funnel is flipped. We don't have still this vertical funnel when you have the lead magnet, you have a tripwire, you have a front end product, you have a back end product. You're putting $1 out of which you'll have, let's say, $10 in a super easy tractionable digital manner, right? Let's assume it's a flipped funnel. What I mean by saying that, we have a layers, right? We have this kind of layers that's built on the top of each other, and you have a multiple points of entry, right? When people can, like, let's say we are on the acquisition layer. What do we have here? Different traffic sources, where our key task is to lower the cost per mile to kind of buying for the less cheap price the actual user to our marketing campaign, to actually attract people's attention by not paying all the money in the world, right? And then we have a different layer. Let's say it's going to be activational layer. When you have different entrance point, like it's a community member, it's the incentive campaign, it's the call to action, it's the reports. How are you going to track that? I mean, are you kidding me? It's not that easy as it was in the Web2 marketing, when you gotta, in the digital way, understand, okay, conversion, let's go. No, you build the garden in the Web3 with all the underlying layers: acquisition layer, activation layer, engagement layer. Then we are going to revenue layer, and then the last but not the least is the retention layer, where you kind of ensuring that guys come into your garden, right, and then can interconnect between those layers without your pushments, right? Without you are pushing them forward to do this first, then that second, then this third. No, they kind of free to do whatever they want, because you as a gardener, you've built the atmosphere for them where they can learn about the product, they can buy the sales liquidation offer, they can go out there and kind of read your blog, they can go and buy the token from the market, they can research a bunch of KOLs, or let's say ambassadors programs, and videos, let's say the breakdowns of your tokens they've made to kind of spread out the word about what you guys doing. They can go and make a subscription to your product to kind of use it, understand whether it suits them or not. So the Web3 funnel is actually flipped, and you have to understand that there is an ocean, right, with the different layers of the pursuings that we have on those layers. So you have to understand you are just as much effective at each of those layers as you can, and by measuring the conversion rates at each of those layers, you can be really valuable marketeer and driving the exceptional outputs. Because right now, what we have in the Web3, those guys are buying a lot of influencer shillings, spending in thousands or hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, right? and just sitting in there carefully and trying to wait for some results coming to them. But it doesn't, work like that. Instead, you have to build the garden, like I said.
Mm. Now let's talk about on-chain metrics. How does that fit into the equation? Now, beyond basic on-chain metrics like transaction volume, token holdings, what advanced on-chain points do you utilize to understand, let's say, user behavior? And and do you use that to make informed marketing decisions?
Yeah, sure. This is a great question. So, beyond just the firm, let's say, the solid metrics where you have the transactions, where you have the frequency, when you have the average value order, that type of stuff, you also have a stuff that, let's say, user generated content, which is huge because it unlocks the virality. And the more users going to put out there the content about your brand, guess what? These are not going to be for you to cut through the noise. Let's say we also can measure the a value is being accrued by affiliates, right? It also works in the different contexts where you have to build the funnel, when you have to attract those guys coming to you and ensure that, okay, this snowball effect gets bigger and bigger and bigger if I trying to build something valuable for the people, and let's say they're coming there and absolutely I would say they have enough incentives to just pushing it forward. And then you also have lifetime value. The LTV is pretty important, right? Because a lot of Web3 founders don't think about this as they should. Because everybody cares about the buying pressure coming to them, the amount of token holders, and the amount of community members. But who cares about the engagement? Who cares about lifetime value? Who cares about the real product kind of data that shows the value of the product itself? Because if the product enough valuable, there's not a big question where or when the people will pick it up as a sentiment and make this project as a next rock star. So I pretty recommend for the people on our consultations, on our strategic marketing breakdowns, to really understand that there's much more than that, than just measuring the on-chain metric. Because you have to measure the enjoyment rate in your community, you have to measure the engagement, you have to measure the user-generated content somehow, you have to measure lifetime value, you have to measure through the customer developments the real rough data sets people do have about your product. You really have to
Mm.
measure a lot of stuff that can be properly measured, you know what I'm saying? But you have to feel it
Exactly.
somehow. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it another LinkedIn post. I've read your LinkedIn, which is kind of like a blog. I love it. Virality formula, where you had metrics like relevance, novelty, emotional triggers. So yeah, I understand what you're doing. It's very, very intelligent. Pairing it up with on-chain data is definitely paramount. And I guess average Tom, Dick, and Harry doesn't get it.
Yeah.
So but let's talk about Cryptorsy a little bit more. You boast 3.5 million reach. Can you break down how this engagement is distributed across different channels like social media, email marketing, and events? And can you highlight which tactics have driven the most significant audience growth?
Yeah, sure. Really intelligent question. So regarding the approach of how we can operate to ensure that most of the outcomes coming to us is the omnichannelity. When you go out there, not just using the Telegram as a primary method of communication with your audience, right? But when you go out there and trying to understand, okay, crypto Twitter we use for these purposes. Okay, Telegram channel where we are going to, let's say, sustain 80% of our community, we are going to use for that purposes. Discord server gonna be nailing those particular goals we are setting in front of us. And then we have a Medium blog. Then we have different sources of communication with the people, and we gotta understand what is the final goal of each of them, right? We have it in our marketing strategy. And then by understanding that first stuff for the truly exceptional launch, you have to ensure you have enough attention. And how you're going to conquer that attention, how you're going to look up the virality, like you just mentioned, right? One of the formulas I've mentioned, the LinkedIn. So we need to understand what is the virality, right? And the virality is, as I actually think about this, is the when you're covering up enough attention of your target audience, when you're covering up the humans' minds that can really go and try to test your product, they are your target personas. And what does it mean, right? It actually meaning that you should lower your CPM costs when you talk about the relevancy. When you talk about the novelty, you should, inspire a lot of insights coming right from, let's say, digesting your content or watching some videos, all that stuff. And then in the end of the funnel, you also have this emotional sentiment where you have the long lasting relations with the people as well. So and regarding the key approach we have here is when you get the attention, then you have a spectrum of methods of how you can utilize this attention. And when you sort of nailing down the key brand essence as your storytelling, as your branding part, what you should really talk for the people to get them hooked to your marketing campaign. I'm not particularly talking in a bad way. I'm talking in a good way, because you have to, like I said, make some value come into their corner as well. But this is really interesting part when you think, okay, we need to have attention, we need to lend this attention to our funnel, we need to convert this attention, we need, after the conversion, actually ensure that those, like I said, attention is the last longing, and kind of turning into the real relation with the people that can be your super users. And those super users, trust me, they can actually flip the whole funnel for you. They can turn around and do a lot of crazy stuff with your project to kind of ensure you are grow as rapidly as you can. Because right now in the community centric era, you cannot like build everything by yourself. But if you are connected and the well kind of build those relations with the community, they can be your marketing department on steroids.
Great. Newsletters in particular, let's talk about that. You have 5,000 engaged newsletter readers at the moment. Can you share a specific example of how you leveraged reader feedback or data insights to significantly improve the content or, delivery of your newsletter? Did that lead to deeper audience engagement?
Let's boil it down to the essentials, right? First, what do you have to ensure? That you build not for somebody, you build with somebody, because it's a different perspective of reading the Web3 thesis, right? You're building with them. So we are just gathering up a lot of feedback from the people, what they really want to read. What do they really passionate about? And we are trying to extrapolate that and put that to the headlines of our blogs and the newsletter contents, right? After this, when it's live, right, we are just checking the casual metrics, the open rate of how the penetration came inside the people, right? How good enough we are at nailing down the something that people are really passionate about to read further. After this, we should understand, okay, how big is the percentage of our conversion rate to the call to actions? How many of those people just kind of connected with us on the community? How many of those people followed the steps we have proposed them to follow? How many of people said, Vlad or the Cryptorsy team, that was a great stuff, and I'm truly, truly inspired. I'm going to do this, this, and that after reading this. Because for us, it's not just about newsletter having as something pretty outside of the marketing of our brand. This is something, as we have a part of that in the Cryptorsy DNK identity. We have the long read format there for the people who want to get supplied with the leading information and the leading methodologies, hacks, and tips in the Web3 that are working right now. And then we're just gathering the feedback. Was it insightful for you? How did you feel by, let's say, read this particular point? What are you going to do after that? So we just kind of have this dialogue with the people. It doesn't matter you have the Web3, Web55 brand, or Web1, just having the conversation with people and carefully asking about what exactly you felt or what exactly inspired you to, like, let's say, do something afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Now, you got about 3,000 projects in your ecosystem. Now, how do you avoid information overload and ensure that only the most promising and innovative ventures get prioritized for community exposure and potential collaborations? And while you answer that, could you give us a couple of examples of premier projects on your ecosystem?
Yeah, correct. So regarding the stuff of how we can ensure that we have a pretty good penetration of the information we are putting out for the people in our ecosystem. We in the Cryptorsy, our marketeers who are kind of building a lot of blogs in our marketing strategies, they are filtered themselves. So we are filtering all the bullshit from the real meaningful stuff. Then we are gathering up a lot of data when we found out, okay, this is the meaningful stuff. We are going to launch that and write a little bit of content around this topic. So we kind of approach this scientifically. When we have the hypothesis before getting started, when we have some sort of implementations and the actions, then we are doing some reflection on that, what we've achieved, what we got, and so on and so forth. And then we are optimizing. This calls scientific approach. And so we serve as a shield of the filter that ensures, okay, in the Cryptorsy ecosystem, blog, Twitter, community, Telegram, whatever, guys, you're reading us, we kind of given for you as much value as the space offers right now, because we read everything, because we went through everything, because we actually on the same page with the market, because I'm the guy that stands behind the scenes of the biggest launches in the Web3 and understand kind of how it works. So it's really, I would say, impossible to ensure that all the information is not messing around people, because yeah, there are a bunch of stuff they are really sort of paying their attention to, and we cannot ensure that, okay, we saying this here, this here, and it doesn't kind of messing you up, it doesn't kind of confusing you, because you are consuming a bunch of information outside of the Cryptorsy. And that's why we are trying to be as much narrowed down as we can by supplying people with the bytes. What actually you need to know, one thing that will help you to be better. What do you need to implement in terms of, let's say, one tool or the instrument of your marketing funnel that will change the outcomes you're getting? And this is
Mhm.
sort of approach. And afterwards, regarding the guys who are in our ecosystem, we have a lot of tier one brands sitting in there. We have a lot of guys who are actually from the top 100 coin market cap. We are building the dialogues with them. On the Wednesday, we will have the biggest RWA panel discussion on Twitter with the Polychain,
Mm.
with the Starbucks, with the Landshare, biggest RWA protocol on the BST chain as well. So we are just delivering value for the people by giving them the garden where they can connect with each other, they can speak about their cases, they can probably hire some consultants or the marketers, or they can connect and go on the AMA session. They can do some launches together. They can participate at each other incentive programs and so on and so forth. This is kind of a golden triangle. From the first part,
Mm.
we help them to have an access to the capital. So we are also co-investing in the projects that we are working with. The next part is the media reach, because a bunch of influencers are working with us, a bunch of PR outlets, and that type of stuff. So we are just ensuring that you have enough, let's say, brand awareness is if you are inside our ecosystem. And then the last but not the least is the skill set, because I have a beautiful team of Sodi, and those guys are being well educated, because I've been teaching them since 2021, I guess, about doing exceptional launches in the Web3 marketing. So we are hoping
Mm.
in those campaigns and trying to nail down the expected results that builders do have for the quarters, years, or whatever time periods we can.
We have one of the final questions I gotta ask. You're very well informed. Do you come from a computer science or information technology or cybersecurity background? What?
Not at all, man. I'm a marketeer. All my life,
Hmm.
I've been doing businesses, and I'm not a
Business,
techie guy
right?
either. So I'm kind of was the CEO, but not in the casual way of translating this. I was the chief everything officer, but my
So,
main kind of superpower was the marketing, and that's why I kind of more the marketing guy than the techie.
so follow-up question on that, because you're so well informed and you teach your, employees as well. a couple of tips for those non-technical guys who want to make that digital change. Podcasts, books, what do you refer to? How do you get self-taught in the Web3 space?
I cannot name you any of the podcasts or the Web3 books or different kind of sources, except the blogs and the newsletters of some of the people that are really delivering actual information. One part I can recommend is to go out there and speak with the people, because life happens right now, and the books, it's just a extrapolation of something that happened before and some sort of analysis put it there. But Web3 is so drastically changing every day, and you got to ensure that you have the fresh information, you are on the same page with the market. And that's why you should go on the conference, you should go on the meetups, on the some sort of networking circles that will connect you with the really radicalized minority of people who are building the next big phase of the internet. And you will be supplied with the leading data sets and the setups that will help you to understand Web3. But also what I do, right, in my casual life to be kind of on the same page with the market, understanding what happens now, is I dedicate 2 hours in my day by just writing content for the newsletter, for my LinkedIn. I'm pretty much active there, for the Twitter, for our clients, and so on and so forth. Then I'm consuming a lot of information. That's why I said I'm kind of defending shield that actually filters all the information and telling for our marketers, guys, it's better for us to, let's say, do a little bit of research about this topic, that topic, and this topic, and then we can put out there and list this for our ecosystem to get supplied with the leading knowledge setups that will really help them change something if they want to, right? So that's my short answer.
I can vouch for that. I did see you in action, face to face here, networking with folks, and your LinkedIn is quite stacked as well. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get in touch with Mr. Vlad, go ahead and follow him on LinkedIn, or maybe go to the bio and you can find him in any other networking event you want. He's
Correct.
very, friendly in person. So all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Vlad. I can't pronounce it. But I'm definitely interested in covering you guys more extensively. And it's an honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Great question. Well prepared host. And yeah, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the energy.
Sure. See you soon.